Back at still the conversation on Morning Spring, and today we are looking at the recent development in the labor sector as the federal government and the organized labor reached an agreement for the new minimum wage put at 70,000 naira. There have been controversies, there have been reactions to this new development. Some people in some quarters are celebrating that finally we are making a headway, and some others think that 70,000 naira is not good enough. Now, we are going to be moving to the organized private sector. We still have with us in the studios Comrade Ayo Ologun. Now, Comrade, the organized private sector, not forgetting that that committee is a tripartite one, the federal government, the organized labor, the private sector, and also the state governments. We should not forget the state governments too. The organized private sector are saying, okay, 70,000 naira, we don't have anything against it, but the taxes must go down, especially the electricity tariff, saying let's scrap the old band A, band B, band C, band Z, and bring down the electricity tariff, bring down other taxes so that we can be able to pay our workers.
Let me tell you, I said it at the beginning of this discussion, that where we're going to likely have a big problem is with the organized private sector. Look, I laugh when some sector were rejoicing that we have 70,000. It's not enough that minimum wage has been proposed. It's like when you give food to a dog and you tie a rope to it. As it's taking a bite, you're dragging it to yourself. So if you are paying 70,000 and tax is as high as it is today, and unfortunately it is multiple, you pay your income tax, you pay tenement rates, you pay this, you pay that, you pay that. By the time you remove all the tax you are paying at the end of the month, if care is not taken, half of your salary is even gone on taxes alone. So people are not smart enough. They got people that are thinking for the government. I don't want to use an awesome word on here, but they are smart in their wickedness, so to say. So it's not a matter of not giving you bread. It's a matter of making sure that that bread is not soaked enough for you to be able to swallow. So if as citizens, we are not calculative enough to begin to mount pressure on government to ensure that multiple taxation is removed and taxation is brought down to the lowest minimum, we are only joking. As they are giving us the money, they are taking it back to the other hand. Because twice cost of electricity tariff has been increased quietly. Exactly for those who are on band A. I'm a victim. Quietly, twice. Tariff has increased. And nobody has made noise. So all they need to do to take that money back from you is to introduce another increase. Let me tell you, I was part of a meeting. Let me talk to the sector that I belong to. I was part of the BON meeting some 2 days ago in Lagos. And one of the issues we're looking at as business owners in the media world is the issue of survivor. On a daily basis, radio and television stations are shutting down across the country. And when people were talking, I was there as an observer, and I was just laughing. Because, of course, we had bigger names in the industry who knows better than I do. But in the corner where I was sitting there representing my brand, I was laughing. Because I know that these people know what they are saying, but they are not bold enough to make it clear. For example, as a media brand owner, you have two choices. Or let me say three. One is if you are lucky that you are situated where you have access to constant electricity, which is band A, you are paying higher than every other person. So if you are relying on electricity, you are paying through your nose. If you decide that that is too risky for you, you want to come down and be using generating sets every day, you stand the risk of the cost of diesel or petrol, as the case may be, which is on the high side. If you now decide that those two are not good enough, and you want to look for alternative power, which we call the UPS, inverters and what have you, the cost of servicing inverters, don't forget that those inverters cannot be kept where there is heat. You're still going to put AC there. You're going to change the water because of the high rate at which you are using it. Maybe on every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you change the waters in the battery and all of that. By the time you put all that together, you are at risk of shutting down. Number two, the market is not wider. Every day, new radio stations and television stations are springing up, and there are no new companies. So the same few companies or establishments that are available in the country is where everybody is struggling for patronage. So if I go there and I say, oh, a minute on my hair is 80,000. Somebody who's looking for survival can go there and say, hey, he wants 80,000, give me 30,000. Because he wants to survive.
Yeah.
So the person will feel, oh, you are demanding for 80. When somebody is begging us for 30, then whether you like it or not, you force down the costs of your hair time. Because somebody is looking for survivor, you are looking for profit. So if care is not taken, while looking for profit, you shut down for somebody else to survive. And that is the case. Yet, they will still ask you to pay taxes on the salaries of your workers. So for example, if you're earning 100,000 as a staff of a broadcast station, by the time they remove tax, you are going on with about 97,500. Tax would have been removed. As you are going home with your salary in your hand, what is bringing in your head is your landlord waiting for you to come and pay electricity bill, which is high. Then you get home, after 3 months, the landlord wakes up from whatever side of the bed and says, look, my rent has increased. Your salary has not increased. So if we are talking about increment in salary, we also need to look at other means to ensure that the same government offering this does not take it back through other means. And in the case of private sector, it is much, much, much more deep for them because the sales are not coming. Federal government in most cases now are not even patronizing private businesses. What you begin to hear is, oh, we are doing PPP, BBP, build, operate, and transfer. They are doing partnership. They are doing direct labor. So if all of that is what they are doing, where do you expect private businesses to get funding from? The same government is not looking at giving loans to private business owners. You are giving student loans. You are giving these loans.
And the interest on loans now
are high. Yeah. Before now, it used to be single digits. 8-9% is what you get.
It's around 27%.
Presently, it's about 27%.
Even Dangote was complaining.
So how do you, if Dangote is complaining, how does small business take such risk? Why will I go to bank to go and take a loan of 10 million that I'm supposed to pay back in 6 months? And by the time you calculate the premium and the amount of money to be paid as interest, that 10 million will be equating about 14 million. What kind of business do I want to do with 10 million naira in 3 months or 6 months that will give me 4 million naira interest? So that means I'm working for the bank. That does not stop me from still paying taxes. So if we are a serious nation, the private sector should be impressing it on the federal government to do 3 basic things and as fast as possible. Number 1, to ensure that they bring out tax on all products, which includes electricity, water, transportation, and what have you. Enough of deceit. You tell us CNG is cheap. All of us should go and be converting to CNG. Show me in the whole of the Southwest, apart from Lagos, that I've seen a couple of centers where they are doing conversion. Where's the conversion center in Ibadan? Where's the conversion center in Osun? Where's the CNG conversion center in Ondo? Where's the conversion center in Ogun? So does it mean that if I have to convert my car to a CNG car now, I have to fill my tank with about 50,000 naira to drive all the way to Lagos for the conversion? And I come to Osun. So when I want to buy, I will still travel to Lagos to go and fill my tank. So these are all of the issues. So I said 3 things so that I don't lose my line of thought. Number 1, the private sector should impress upon the federal government to block all multiple taxation. It is very important. Number 2, the private sector must impress on the government to create windows for loan at low interest rate or no rate at all, so that we can give room for businesses to kickstart, those that are existing, to thrive. The third thing that the private sector needs to be looking at is to impress it on the federal government to make deliberate, I use the word deliberate investment in the energy sector, so that we do not have to be buying what we cannot access with money that we cannot also get.
All right, let's come to the state government. Let's see, 70,000 naira. There are some states that are not even paying the 30,000 naira. I mean, some months ago, Zamfara just announced that they will start paying 30,000 naira. Now they have to start paying 70,000 naira. Do you see all states adhering to this new national minimum wage, or it should have been that the negotiation should have been done at the state levels, not at the federal level?
In Nigeria, we appropriate and reprobate at the same time. Because if you ask me today, now what kind of system are we practicing in Nigeria? It is difficult to say federalism. It's also difficult to say unitary. Because they are proponents of unitary system of government in our democracy. They are proponents of federalism. In the true spirit of federalism, negotiation for minimum wage should have been done at the state levels. because the state is a federating unit. And the income accruable to each state are not the same. So if truly we wanted to practice federalism, negotiation for minimum wage should have been done at the state level. Rivers should be able to negotiate with our workers how much they are willing to pay by the provision of what is accruable to them from the federal allocation account every month and what the HGR is. Yeah. Because what Rivers State is getting a month, Ekiti is not getting, Ekiti is getting just about quarter of it. Just one quarter of it. And you expect that what Rivers is paying, Ekiti will be paying. Unfortunately, the negotiation for minimum wage is done at the federal level on behalf of the states, which is a reflection.
But many will say the agreement at the federal level is just a baseline.
That is why it's called minimum.
Yeah.
But the minimum in the real sense of it is not the reality of many states. That's where I'm coming to. 70,000 naira as minimum wage for me, for people in Ekiti, in Osun, if they get to ever be paid that 70,000 minimum wage, they should be happy because there are three things for consideration. What is the standard of living in those states? How much you buy food here is cheaper compared to how much you buy food in places like Bayelsa, Imo, and Anambra and Rivers, Port Harcourt. Even water, what do you call bottled water that you buy for 200 naira here? A bottle goes for as high as 500, 1,000 in some parts of Bayelsa because they don't even have access to clean water. So before you can even get to clean water, any company that decides to go into water business there, we have to dig thousands of feet down below the ground, which in itself have its cost. So that's what I'm saying, that even the minimum wage being put at 70,000 as a minimum, and that negotiation was done at the federal level, is a reflection of the unity system of government. Because ordinarily it should have been done at the state level. That's number one. Number two, as it stands today, just like you have rightly posited, Bayelsa State, Savannah State, 4 years after, not even 4, 5, 5 years after, is starting just this last June to be paying 30,000 naira agreed upon 5 years ago. So which means if we are to judge them by history, it will take them another 5 years to start paying the new minimum wage of 70,000. So in those 5 years, what is the fate of the workers there? And don't also forget that before the shenanigans of the federal government, the labor union and what have you, culminating to the agreement of 6,000 as minimum wage, Edo already started paying minimum wage of 70,000. So if Edo was paying 70,000 as minimum wage before the recent agreement, there's a likelihood that the labor union in Edo State will tell Mr. Governor, if you were paying 70 before the agreement, you have to jack it up. So Edo State might end up paying like 100,000 or thereabouts as minimum wage. Lagos was paying about 60,000 as minimum wage, even when the minimum wage was 30,000. So you don't expect that the labor union in that state will go to sleep and say, yeah, just add 10,000, 70,000. They are going to negotiate for more because they know what is accruable. You don't expect civil servants in Rivers to settle down for 70,000 as minimum wage because they know what is accruable to them. So the question now is, a federal worker, a worker with the federal government that was working in Osun, for example, and is earning 70,000 as minimum wage, he or she has extra money to play around with because the standard of living, the cost of living, cost of transportation, cost of housing are cheaper. So such a person is having some money accruable to him or her as extra. All of a sudden, a memo comes and says, you have been transferred from Osun to Rivers State. That person is going there to face the reality of the surge in cost of living, accommodation, transportation. But that person dare not complain because there is a template, a minimum wage that does not give consideration to location.
Yeah, permit me to butt in just because of time. We have less than 5 minutes or thereabout. And a couple of questions. Number one, so with all these concerns from state governors and state governments, where does this lead to? Because we are eavesdropping that many of them might propose retrenchment to say, if you want us to pay this high, that means maybe a number of you have to go. Do you see that possibility? And if that happens, your guess is as good as mine. That's number one. And number two, is it because if leakages are blocked, if they will be very, prudent with spending, 36 state governments, is it because they can't pay based on economic reality or they won't pay? If we have to be sincere.
None of the two. It's not that they can't pay, they can pay. Not that they will not pay, they would pay. When the Labour said they don't have a choice, the Labour knows what it's talking about. No governor at this present time, this is not the days of BC Akandeo. No governor would dare try retrenching workers at this time. No governor would dare it. He will not survive it.
But some second-time governors might want to dare.
They will not
have nothing to
they
lose.
will not even dare, because it's not about them. It's about the states. It's about the political parties that they represent. They will not dare. We have passed the age of where one governor will come up to say you are sacking, except those ones lack the prerequisite to be civil servants. But if they have not breached any law and their recruitment or employment has been accordance with the law, you dare not wake up at this time in the history of Nigeria to say you want to sack any worker. So tell me why any governor will not be able to pay. You gave two proponents. What was their income a year ago? There is no states that their income has not tripled, both for the federation account and in terms of IGR. So if your income has tripled, the minimum wage of your workers has not tripled. Tell me why it should be difficult for you to pay minimum wage. Many of them have not been employing. And on a daily basis, the workforce, the workload keep reducing. People retires from work, some dies, some willingly resign. So if all along you have not employed and your workforce has reduced, tell me what your excuse will be for not paying salary. The third question would be, many of them across the states are already increasing what is accruable to the political class. Example is here in Oshun, where you went to the House of Assembly and within 24 hours or 48 hours, a law was rushed and passed to be paying the political class higher than they were earning. So if you could be concerned about cost of living as a concerned political class, why should you not be concerned about the workforce? So those two, for me, is not tenable. It's not that they cannot pay, they can pay because they now have much more money. And not that they will not pay, they will pay. Because no one of them would dare joke with the labor union or with the workforce by trying not to do the needful.
All right, it's so much to take in at this time. Now, what really is the way forward? Do you think people should just agree to the 70,000 naira and, accept it and see it as, a step in the right direction? We should just they should hope for what's more to come? Or do you think they should still continue to engage the government and make demands of them?
Who wants to make the demand? The only organization or the only union that has the power, the tenacity, and the wherewithal to make negotiation is the NSC and the TUC. And the leadership of those two unions have already agreed. So who else? Is it you and I that will go and carry placard, or the Osun State NSC or TUC that will say, no, we disagree, when your leadership has already agreed? So the negotiation will be ongoing. Negotiation ended yesterday. I can't tell, maybe in another 6 months or 1 year, if our present economic reality does not subside, there might be agitation for increase. But as it stands today, negotiation for minimum wage ended yesterday. So people do not have a choice than to accept. It's not even a question of a choice, whether to accept or not. It is our reality. It is now the law. Once that bill is sent to the National Assembly and it is passed, bam, that is the end of it.
In that meeting and the agreement that happened yesterday, the president said he understands that this amount is small, and every 3 years, in the next 3 years, there's going to be a review. Do you buy that?
I don't. Because the problem with many of us is that we take words of our leaders without juxtaposing it with the law. Minimum wage by law is reviewable every five years.
Right.
So under which law will the president wake up in 3 years to say he wants to increase minimum wage? Except the law is amended by the National Assembly, except if it calls for an amendment. Because this is not a banana republic. You can't just wake up and say, I'm donating. That is why it gets me worried. When the governor just wakes up like Sanwo-Olu and say, I'm donating so amount. Which budget captured that donation? Is it your personal money you want to give to them? Was it appropriated for? So anybody think the president will just wake up tomorrow and say, oh, labor union, you've been so nice. Now I'm increasing your minimum wage for 70,000 except the law is reviewed by the National Assembly. Another minimum wage will not come until the next 5 years.
So you think it's all political?
It's all political. It's simply words of mouth, not more than that.
All right. And we try and take a break now. And when we return, we speak to other issues in the polity, the LG autonomy I want to ask you, because you are an advocate of good governance as well, and many persons have been talking about restructuring through federalism. Many will say maybe this is part of restructuring, returning the power back to the grassroots. By the way, it's the Money Spring on Western Spring Television. We still have Comrade Ayo Ologun here, and when we come back, we'll be talking about other issues as well. Please stay with us.